Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. At Crimson Lights, Holden flashes to sex with Claire and smiles. Esther breaks the spell by asking if he'd like a mocha. He declines, but asks about houses or apartments, giving her his number if she hears of one. Esther guesses Holden is staying in town because of a woman. Somehow they get onto her history with Catherine Chancellor, before talk turns back to his love interest. Holden charms her and then texts Claire. At the ranch, NIKKI asks Claire about her situation with Kyle, or Holden. Claire reflects that so much has changed in the past month. She's realized she can handle things on her own. She's gotten some clarity, and knows she's not ready for a serious relationship. NIKKI fishes to find out more about Holden. NIKKI Claire. Claire reads Holden's text and smiles, admitting to NIKKI that they're meeting for drinks later. They go on about him being charming and handsome. Claire says he's a good time and that's what she's looking for right now. Every time she's with him, she learns something about herself. NIKKI thinks it's the lure of the bad boy and they veer into her history with Victor. Claire one day hopes to have a love like that. She knows her grandmother had other loves, they were learning experiences. NIKKI tells Claire to let fate decide. If she's preferring Holden over Kyle right now, she shouldn't second guess it. NIKKI Claire YNR. Lily squares off with everyone. In the foyer of the club, Lily's awkward encounter with Kane and Phyllis progresses with Ashby asking his ex why she's there so late. Lily explains that she came back for her earbuds and assures Phyllis she has no problem with them having dessert upstairs before coming down for a souffle. Despite her insistence that she's fine with all of this, Lily gets into it with Phyllis and Kane, asking when they got so familiar. Phyllis says they'd been working together since Nice. Kane informs him ex-wife he won't apologize. Phyllis thinks Lily is jealous. She declares she's just incredibly disappointed. Phyllis. Kane asks to speak to Lily alone for a moment and tells her he doesn't need her lecturing him every time he sees her. What's happening is not what she thinks. I just need a little bit of time, Lily. Everything will be clear soon. He asks her for breakfast in the morning, but she declines. He leaves with Phyllis. Lily Kane. At the bar, Lily gets on the phone and tries to cajole her brother into meeting her for a drink, but he pleads parental obligations. Suddenly, Holden walks in and tells her she shouldn't drink alone. Lily snaps at him, and then decides to ask if he's still working for Kane. Holden tries to change the subject, so Lily guesses he is still working for Kane. She insults him over it, and they bicker about who is responsible for Damien's death. Holden doesn't hold Kane accountable. Lily sneers, not as long as he's signing your paycheck. Landing another zinger, Lily tells him that Erupt is being dismantled, and Ashby will have to start selling off his assets soon. Lily Holden. Holden complains about Lily trying to run him out of town and asks about the rumors about Erupt. Lily spots Audra coming in and says someone found out about Kane's plan. She leaves him sitting there puzzled as Audra strolls up, delighted that Holden seems to have gotten bad news. Calling out Kane. On the patio at Crimson Lights, Phyllis asks if Kane's in a bad mood because Lily knows something happened between them. Ashby shrugs that his feelings for her aren't going to disappear because of one dalliance that was long overdue. He has no regrets. Phyllis muses that he definitely put on a good show. Kane wants to know what she wants to hear. Tell me everything, he coaxes. She leans in, you want to hear everything? Like, what's the password to my laptop? Kane Phyllis. Phyllis tells him the password and then asks if he wants the password to his phone or to get into his bank account. She denies stealing his program and complains that he doesn't trust her. Kane feels she can't be surprised. Phyllis warns she'll change the password and muses about all the distrust in their relationship. Kane shrugs that neither one of them will get bored. Have you ever really trusted anyone in your life? Kane Phyllis. Phyllis trusts her kids, but no one else. Kane's the same way, but they don't trust him. Getting into a professional or personal relationship with her won't help. Phyllis accuses him of trying to get her into bed to get into her laptop. Or is there something other than business between them? The final scenes. At the ranch, Claire tells NIKKI that she feels bad because Kyle and Harrison are pushing for a speedy reunion. NIKKI reminds her she can always see Harrison. It's not her job to please everyone. Take your time, she counsels. She can have some no-strings fun as she works her way up the corporate ladder. Claire complains that both Holden and Kyle come with baggage, namely Audra Charles. She's out for blood, they nearly tore each other's hair out. At the club, Audra pries about why Holden's in a funk and needles him about being without Claire. They bicker about whether or not she'll blab. NovaK warns his old pal to quit provoking her or she might bring up her crime to the wrong people. Audra balks, don't you mean our crime? Audra Holden. Holden didn't share the whole story. Audra certainly hopes he didn't share the second, and worst, part of the story. NovaK grits that he was doing damage control and urges Charles to get out of there before Claire arrives. Audra decides Claire should maybe know everything. Holden argues that wouldn't be good for either of them, they have too much to lose if the story comes out. By the time Claire walks in, Holden's alone and brooding. She flashes back to when they met and he introduced her to Vespers. Her smile turns to a frown as Audra reappears. Pulling out her phone and grumbling about the bitch not staying out of her life, she calls Billy and tells him she has information on her that he might find interesting. She wants to meet with him and Sally first thing tomorrow. Claire. At Crimson Lights, Kane denies sleeping with Phyllis just to get her hard drive. He insists he wanted her just as badly as she wanted him. You can verify that, he deadpants. At Crimson Lights, the cafe's soft lighting cast a warm glow over the room, but Holden hardly noticed anything beyond the lingering memory of Claire. His mind flashed back unbidden to the night they had shared, to the heat and laughter, the way she had looked at him, the way her lips had pressed against his with that mix of curiosity and longing that made his pulse quicken even now. He smiled, shaking his head as if he could rid himself of the memory, yet the grin lingered, a private acknowledgement of a pleasure he couldn't quite let go. That is, until Esther, ever perceptive and delightfully unafraid of intruding upon a man's daydreams, asked whether he wanted a mocha. The question broke the spell. Holden's smile softened, replaced by his usual polite charm as he declined the drink, but then, casually, he inquired about houses or apartments in the area, offering his number if Esther happened to hear of anything. There was something about the way she guessed he was staying in town for a woman that made him pause. He allowed himself a brief chuckle before nodding, giving nothing away, yet inwardly acknowledging that she was not far off. Somehow, the conversation veered toward her history with Catherine Chancellor, and Holden, ever the charmer, listened and contributed with a kind of gentle attentiveness that only drew Esther in further. Once they had circled back to the subject of his love interest, Holden's charm was in full swing, texting Claire almost immediately, a grin spreading across his face at the mere thought of their next encounter. Meanwhile, at the ranch, NIKKI had been keeping a watchful eye on Claire, her tone gentle yet probing as she asked about the situation with Kyle, or was it Holden? Claire sighed, reflecting aloud on the whirlwind that had been the past month. She had come to realize that she could handle things on her own, that she could stand on her own 2 feet and navigate the stormy waters of her personal life without being dragged under by the currents of romance and drama. She had clarity now, and what she didn't yet have was readiness for a serious relationship. NIKKI, wise and experienced in the ways of love and heartbreak, nudged her further, fishing delicately to uncover any hidden truths about Holden without pressing too hard. Claire's phone buzzed then, a text from Holden lighting up the screen. She smiled, admitting to NIKKI that they were meeting for drinks later. The conversation flowed effortlessly as they gushed over him, his charm, his handsomeness, the thrill he brought into her life. He's a good time, Claire confessed, her eyes sparkling, and that's what I'm looking for right now. Every encounter with him revealed another layer of herself, another insight into her own desires and boundaries. NIKKI, of course, had her own theories. It's the lure of the bad boy, she said with a knowing smirk, leading them into a tangent about her own history with Victor and the passionate, complicated loves of her past. Claire listened, absorbed, reflecting that perhaps one day she too would have a love that left her breathless, that taught her as much about herself as it did about another person. For now, NIKKI advised, let fate decide. If Holden was where her heart leaned at the moment, she shouldn't second-guess it. Across town, the tension at the club was a different kind entirely. Lily, caught in the foyer, had an awkward encounter with Kane and Phyllis, her emotions a tangle of irritation, disbelief, and lingering attachment. Kane, ever the cool and composed man, asked why she was there so late, and Lily, fumbling with an excuse about retrieving her earbuds, assured Phyllis she had no problem with them having dessert upstairs. But the calm she attempted to project cracked almost immediately, her disappointment spilling out as she demanded to know when they had grown so familiar. Phyllis, ever self-assured, pointed out that their collaboration dated back to Nice, while Kane, patient but firm, informed his ex-wife that he didn't need her to lecture him each time they crossed paths. I just need a little bit of time, Lily, he said, softening just enough to let her know the situation was not as she presumed. He even extended a breakfast invitation, which she declined, leaving him to depart with Phyllis, leaving her simmering in a mixture of resentment and unresolved feelings. Later, at the bar, Lily attempted to distract herself by calling her brother, seeking solace in family connection, only to be met with the practicalities of parental obligations. Before she could dwell too long on her frustration, Holden appeared, cutting through the tension with that infuriating mix of charm and composure. He suggested she shouldn't drink alone, prompting a sharp retort from Lily, followed by her pointed question about whether he was still working for Kane. Holden tried to deflect, but Lily, ever perceptive, guessed correctly and didn't hesitate to criticize him. Their verbal sparring escalated quickly, each barb a test of wit and emotional endurance. Holden refused to condemn Kane for Damien's death, prompting Lily to sneer, not as long as he's signing your paycheck. She landed another stinger, noting the dismantling of Arabesque and hinting that Kane would soon have to sell off assets, a revelation that clearly disturbed Holden, though he masked it well. The tension was broken only briefly by the entrance of Audra, whose arrival prompted Lily to leave Holden in a puzzled state, realizing that someone else had stumbled upon Kane's plan. Meanwhile, at Crimson Lights, Kane and Phyllis navigated their own delicate terrain. Phyllis, ever inquisitive, asked if Kane's mood was sour due to Lily's knowledge of their recent liaison. Kane, unflinching, admitted that his feelings for her were not diminished by one dalliance, emphasizing that he had no regrets. Phyllis, intrigued, pressed for the truth, teasing him about passwords and trust, challenging the boundaries of their relationship with a mixture of playfulness and pointed scrutiny. Kane's calm deflection, Phyllis's insistence, the back and forth of suspicion and desire, it was a delicate dance, one that revealed as much about their emotional intricacies as it did about their mutual wariness. Phyllis confessed to trusting only her children, Kane shared his own guarded tendencies, and together they explored the tenuous balance of trust, ambition, and attraction. It was impossible, she mused, to disentangle the professional from the personal, yet that tension only heightened the allure between them, each knowing that the other's intentions were layered with complexity. Back at the ranch, Claire shared her anxieties with NIKKI, admitting guilt over the pressure Kyle and Harrison exerted for a rapid reconciliation. NIKKI, steady and reassuring, reminded her that she could always see Harrison and that pleasing everyone was not her responsibility. Take your time, she counseled, emphasizing that no-strings fun was a perfectly acceptable way to navigate both personal and professional aspirations. Claire, candid in her self-reflection, confessed that both Holden and Kyle carried baggage, particularly Audra Charles, whose thirst for vengeance had nearly led to literal hair-pulling confrontations. The weight of past dramas, secrets, and unresolved conflicts loomed over her, yet she felt a renewed sense of agency, a confidence in her ability to steer her own narrative. At the club, the tension between Holden and Audra simmered, each verbal exchange a careful negotiation of power and secrecy. Audra pried relentlessly about his mood and his attachment to Claire, testing his patience and resolve. NovaK, ever the voice of reason, cautioned Holden to tread carefully, warning that provoking her could result in explosive revelations. Audra, undeterred, plotted to share information with Billy and Sally, leveraging the power of secrets like a blade poised to slice through the delicate fabric of relationships in Genoa City. Holden's brooding intensified as he awaited Claire's arrival, recalling the moment they had met and the introduction to Vespers, a memory both sweet and tinged with apprehension. Audra's reappearance only heightened the tension, her sharp tongue and scheming nature a constant threat to the precarious balance Holden tried to maintain. By the time Claire arrived, Holden was alone, his brooding an open book to anyone who cared to read it. Her thoughts flickered between past and present, their initial meeting, the shared laughs, the subtle intimacy of their encounters. Yet the shadow of Audra's machinations loomed large, a reminder that secrets, no matter how carefully guarded, had a way of surfacing at the most inconvenient moments. Elsewhere at Crimson Lights, Kane confronted Phyllis, denying that their physical encounter had been motivated solely by access to a hard drive, insisting instead that desire had played as significant a role as any strategic consideration. Their dialogue, charged with desire, mistrust, and a shared history of calculated risk, reflected the intricate web of personal and professional stakes each character navigated daily. Across the city, the convergence of personal desires, professional ambitions, and long-buried secrets created an atmosphere thick with tension, the kind that only Genoa City, or the ranches and clubs surrounding it, could generate. Each character moved like pieces on a chessboard, aware of the stakes yet unwilling to forego their instincts, their impulses, their heart's inclinations. Holden's charm and strategic thinking intertwined seamlessly with Claire's newfound clarity and assertiveness. Lily's confrontations with Kane and Holden revealed unresolved pain and lingering affection, complicated further by Phyllis's calculated provocations and Kane's unwavering composure. NIKKI, ever the maternal guide, offered wisdom and caution, grounding Claire amidst the chaos, while Audra maneuvered with surgical precision, exploiting weaknesses and testing loyalties. Crimson Lights, the ranch, the club, all were stages upon which passion, strategy, and raw emotion played out, leaving no relationship untouched and no secret safely buried. Every text, every glance, every whispered conversation carried weight. Holden's texting Claire was more than a casual message, it was a spark igniting a series of events that could reshape alliances, reveal betrayals, and test the resilience of hearts and minds alike. Claire's smiles and self-reflections were not mere indulgences but indicators of growth and self-awareness, hinting at a heroine who could navigate love and ambition with poise. Lily's sharp tongue and pointed barbs revealed both vulnerability and strength, showing a woman unwilling to compromise her integrity even in the face of complex romantic entanglements. Phyllis and Kane's interactions were a masterclass in tension, playful, provocative, and layered with meaning, each statement a calculated risk, each reaction a reveal of character. And through it all, the looming presence of secrets, Audra's information, the shadow of Damien's death, the dismantling of Arabesque, underscored the fragile equilibrium of power, desire, and trust in Genoa City. As night descended, the lights of the club and Crimson Lights shimmered against the cool air, the perfect backdrop for confrontations, confessions, and clandestine rendezvous. Characters moved with intention, each encounter a catalyst for transformation, each word a potential spark of revelation. The city, alive with gossip and intrigue, mirrored the internal storms raging within its inhabitants. And in the midst of it all, Holden, Claire, Lily, Kane, Phyllis, NIKKI, and Audra navigated the labyrinth of love, loyalty, betrayal, and ambition, their lives intertwined in ways that were at once unpredictable, inevitable, and inescapably dramatic. Every step they took, every choice they made, promised ripples that would extend far beyond the confines of a single cafe, bar, or ranch, reshaping relationships, testing limits, and challenging the very essence of who they were, and who they wanted to be. The night stretched on, heavy with possibility, charged with passion, and pregnant with secrets waiting to surface, each character standing at the precipice of revelation, their hearts and minds poised for what could only be described as the tumultuous, intoxicating, and utterly addictive drama that was their lives in Genoa City. As the night deepened over Genoa City, the streets seemed to hum with the unspoken energy of secrets poised to unravel. At Crimson Lights, Holden sipped the last of his black coffee, though he barely tasted it, his mind tangled between strategy and desire. Claire's text from earlier burned in his pocket, a beacon of anticipation he couldn't ignore.